Section 109, Paragraph 3, Section 109, Subsection 3, Paragraph A, B, and C, for the purpose of effectively performing its oversight. Each of the committees shall have all the powers, rights, and privileges as are vested in the High Court at a trial in respect of enforcing the attendance of witnesses and examining them on oath, affirmation, or otherwise, compelling the production of documents and the issue of commission or request to examine witnesses abroad. This is in tandem with our own Standing Order 101. I think the same wording and the same spirit. So I welcome all of you to this very important interaction. I said it before, the minister came this morning and took excuse from us that he's traveling. He has a very urgent mission to do outside this country. Last time also we met with the Ministry of Infrastructure Works. We were thinking from this direction. How do we reduce the cost of consultancies in this country? I said it before. We interacted with the Commonwealth Parliament here last time. We took motivation and inspiration from that they were able to call down British consultancy, and that cost the British government millions of pounds. So our situation is no different from them. How do Ministry of Finance? I know in most cases consultancy is a donor requirement, but we negotiate with them before approval of grants and other things. We do negotiate with them. So we also want to see if consultancy rate in this country can, instead of the traditional 2%, if we can bring it down so that such money can be directed to other government infrastructure projects. So Ministry of Finance as a key stakeholder, we said it before, we are going to have a stakeholder forum where we are going to map the way forward for this. Another thing that we can save a lot of money as far as infrastructure development of this country is how do we effectively engage the police engineering unit, the armed forces engineering unit. I'm sure they will not do projects at that amount that these normal contractors are doing. So that's also something that this committee for these next 5 years want to see the possibilities of engaging them as it is done in other countries like in America, in Europe, and etc. Their militaries and police are effectively in government capital projects. That cost those government quite a lot of money. So these are some of the things we will do as we go. We are going to call the stakeholder forum. I said it before. We will call Minister of Finance, the Armed Forces, the Inspector General of Police, Minister of Transport, everybody, any institution that is involved in this will be called, and we will make it a very frank conversation. What is the way forward for this to make sure the government consultancy, instead of 2% on every project, can come down either 1% or 1.5%. So I welcome all of you to this very important interaction once again. Now we can go to the other, that is Minister of Finance, your presentation on your capital projects. Who's going to do the presentation? Yeah, because we want the person who's going to make the presentation to take auto affirmation. That's why we want the person to, the clerk can come and administer that on that person.
No, it's okay. Excuse me. This is my first time here. Ibrahim Elestab. I, Ibrahim Adabo. Here affirm that. Do hereby affirm that
I will speak the truth,
I will speak the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
nothing but the truth.
nothing but the truth.
So help me.
So help me God. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, yes. So this document guide was very, very well. Thank you very much. For me, I produced over this document. I realized that it has contained all what we want actually. We are using all the institutions document that are implemented for projects. Now, we may not know the location of those projects, but we all these institutions, they'll be able to tell us they have been in Kenya, they have been in Pakistan, they have been in. That's going to guide us. Yes, you are right.
Thank you very much for this invitation. Currently, this is the one we provide.
I think the rules are anyone who should speak should take affirmation. So on that note, since there are many and it's a team and they may have issues to address as we interact, so it's better.
But I can take information. In case there are follow-ups, clarifications. Okay. Yes. Abdullah Jallo.
I, Abdullah Jallo,
I, Abdullah Jallo,
do here affirm
that
I will
speak the truth,
the whole truth,
nothing but the truth,
nothing but the truth.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. So the list of projects we have provided here, those are the projects, and these are mainly externally funded projects. There are also domestic funded projects, but they are not here, like the Hakalangs. Yeah, the likes of Hakalang, the likes of the North Bank Roads, Lot 1 and 2. Yeah, so these are projects that are externally funded. That is within our domain, the ones that we have in our system. So it's just to put on record that this may not be exhaustive per se. So if you can go to, you may go to certain ministries or sectors. There is a possibility that they might give you some funding, like technical assistance that they are getting from other bilateral partners that we may not necessarily have. But essentially, this will capture, I can say, 90%, more than 90% of the information that you would need. Because the small ones that maybe you might have the UNDP supporting a ministry for $500,000 or $300,000, but these are the large-scale investments that are in our portfolio. Just to put on record that this is not an exhaustive list. As you make your investigations, you might also find some projects that we might not have here, but at least these are the projects that carry at, I can say, 90 to over 90% of our country portfolio. And in terms of the funding, we are getting this mainly from the European Union and also from our key development partners, which are the All Bank. You could recall that, I'm not sure whether that public announcement has been made. They just signed yesterday a $68 million for the tourism project, and it's mainly from the World Bank. That's about 400 million USD, which contains mainly our country allocation coming from their own, the allocation for our country, and the regional envelope from the bank. We also benefit from regional projects. and the European Union also has been a significant provider of aid to this country. Besides that, most of our road investments you are seeing that are externally funded is mainly coming from the Arab creditors. Islamic Development Bank, the Arab Bank for Economic and Social, the Arab Bank for Social and Economic Development, the OPEC, the Organization of Oil Exporting Countries, which is OPEC, the Kuwait Fund, Abu Dhabi Fund, and also the Saudi Development Fund. These are the external creditors that are mainly funding our roads. So anytime if we submit a request for a ratification of a loan to finance a road project, if you look at the financing terms, they are mainly coming from these Arab editors. But the World Bank is more into digital infrastructure, agriculture, and also education, exactly, and health. Their investments in education and health is very significant. And recently, tourism sector. But the Arab countries, we mainly engage them to finance our infrastructure, and this is mainly road infrastructure, airport, yeah, basically in those two areas. And World Bank is also heavily into the energy sector, and if you look at our portfolio, the energy sector as the World Bank's investments in the Gambia is mainly dominated in the energy sector. You could recall that just yesterday, the managing director of operations of the World Bank had to visit the OMVG, the Brikama OMVG substation. They funded the OMVG, the transmission and distribution network from the Hydro Dam in Guinea up to Soma substation and the Brikama substation. They funded mainly the transmission and distribution network. I think that was around $47 million US at the time. This was in 2015, thereabout. And the two substations are funded by mainly Kuwait Fund for the two substations. Yes, by way of general overview, these are our partners, and they are mainly into these core areas. So, Ibrahim, thank you.
Thank you, PS. Honorable members, I think my permanent secretary has given a good rundown and introduction why the financing and the sectors where some of these development partners' resources goes to. In his explanation, he said the World Bank, which is the core development partner to us as a country, is heavy into energy sector of recent due to the government plight to improve the energy sector in the Gambia. In addition to that, we have other development partners, including IDB, ADB, and Badia, Arab Bank for Kuwaiti Fund as well. We have bilaterals, including the EU cooperation in the Gambia, and that is why we invited the National Authorizing Office, who is kind of an office or desk that's representing an interface between the Ministry of Finance and then the EU. And they are here with us today in order to help us to support us on the implementation status of some of the projects that are funded under the EU. Having said that, if I have to give a bit of a small policy that or study direction to Honorable Kia's request in the reduction of presence of consultancies in our country, in order to make the best economic benefit of the resources coming to the country. I think you are on course on that, but it does happen due to the lack of capacity, if I would call it, in some of the areas or components of the project implementation. And that is the reason you can see mostly those capacities are not within the Gambia, and even if they are, do they have that international recognition? And also, does it fall under the envelope? Because most of the consultancies, if the amount is beyond the threshold of the GPPA, and then they will say you can hire the consultancies. So that, coming back to the gist of today's meeting, we want to, as we have with you, we want to give a quick rundown of the ongoing projects that we are able to pull from the system, that we capture all the information relating to donor-funded project in the country. As my peers said, this doesn't include government-owned financing envelopes. These are more to do with our development partners, bilateral, multilateral, and also you will not find the type of projects that are funded by the civil society organization or philanthropists in the country. You can see MRC Holland, you will not see in this list because MRC Holland has an MOU with the Minister of Higher Education or Minister of MOPSI, and then that understanding is there. And then that's why you will see they will not figure here. And then the charitable organizations, you will not also see them here, and then there are very many in the country, and they are doing a lot for the country as well with our communities. But government doesn't have any signatory with them, and then for being the case, they will not feature on this list here. But they are important. My directorate is also working with them to see how best we can capture all of their presence. But as you may know, they are numerous, and then it's difficult to find their location as offices in the country. Nonetheless, that's the reason you may not find those type of interventions on the list here. Then if you may go through the list, you'll find number one is support to access to water in the greater Banjul area. This particular financing agreement was signed in 2020 and is supposed to end in 2024. The donor agency is the African AFD, French Development Association. And it's a grant financing, it's in the water sector, as you may see. It's in an amount of 17 million US dollar, euro, or US dollar equivalent. And then you can see under the disbursement, as per the time we pulled these resources, I better inform that too, sometimes because of the lack of receiving information from our development partners and the projects, to update our system, usually it takes a little bit of time. And you will see on this report here, the disbursement status is 0, meaning there is a new financing, or the conditions for disbursements to meet maybe are not complete. But if you look at it, this was signed in 2020 and we are in 2022. Meaning the information that is provided from the system might be kind of error because we assume this should have been started. That's another one, Action 8, strengthening women economic initiative in Southern Gambia. This is outside the government. If you can see, it's EU funded, but now so it's here to help us. It's a grant financing, and there is a multi-sectoral approach to community development. And then the amount is small, amount 344,100. The cumulative disbursement from this project is 66,643 euros, which is 19% of the total envelope. The other component is funded by EU, the same EU, on agri-economic growth, food security, nutrition to mitigate migration flows. This was signed in 2015 and is supposed to end in 2022. It's a grant financing and the sector is supporting is agriculture. It's in the total amount of $15.38 thousand. And then from record, now Sue will help us to give more light on that. And then, you can see 2015 to now, we are having 0 disbursement. maybe they will help us to answer some of the why the disbursement, it doesn't have any disbursement. Either might be due to record or something. Agricultural value chain, this is a loan component. Its agricultural sector is 8.5 million, and the total amount of cumulative disbursement is 8.12 million. This is 95% of the fund has been disbursed. The next other one is building resilience. And you can see this particular one I just made mention is ADB funded project. This is contracted by the Minister of Finance and the ADB, and that's why you can see it's captured in our system, and the old records are in place. And then we have a 95.6% disbursement there. Building Resilience is also a project funded by Islamic Development Bank. This project was signed in 2015 and supposed to end in 2022. As you may see, this is an amount of $17,600,000, but almost 8 million has been disbursed. This is one of the troubled projects from the previous government. And then, as you may all know, there were kind of executive involvement in kind of restructuring this project. And then due to that, our development partner was not okay with that. And then that has caused series of delays. But the project is kind of to be restructured. It's one of the projects that we want to discuss with the IDB of recent, but due to changes in the ministries, the mission has been postponed to allow us to discuss with the sector to know the details of this one. And then hopefully in our next meeting with the IDB, we'll have a position whether the facility is going to be canceled or whether it's going to go ahead with the restructuring. Building Resilience to recruit food insecurity is an ADB grant financing that is also in the same amount of 17 million about, and its total percent disbursed is $5,784,000. 32% of this has been disbursed. Okay, what is missing on the system? When was the sign? That's it.
Right around the
So,
same time.
yeah.
Right around the same time.
We don't have that. Yeah. Then,
Sorry, Director.
yes.
I don't know, just a quick reminder. Do you guys categorize projects that government of the Gambia are counterpart committee?
Counterpart funding.
You don't capture that?
No, it may not come out explicit as you, maybe if you requested for that counterpart contribution, mostly due to experience we have, as government have seen contribution only. There are no big financial.
Let me answer that question. If you look at the column, total project cost, that's where the counterpart will be. But as he has said, the column where you have the project cost, either in USD or Euro, that's where the counterpart is built inside that project cost. So if you had requested for like another column for counterpart, then they would have provided that information.
Probably you guys can supply that after Tobaski, so
Yeah.
that we know the
Yes, yes.
monetary value, how much government is
Yeah,
contributing
yeah.
to counterpart obligations. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Go
Okay.
ahead.
That's a valid question, but as I was trying to answer, of recent we decided to discourage that because usually due to the indebted nature of the country, our debt situation is such that it wouldn't allow us mostly on real time for government to meet its counterpart contribution to some of this project. Oh, sorry. What I was trying to say, of recent, you know, we are all aware of the indefinite nature of the country. Debt situation is such that it's difficult for government to usually meet its counterpart contribution to the projects on real time. And then due to those reasons, government have a strategy and policy shift to not to accept cash contribution as to some of this heavy investment project because it delayed the project implementation. Then now what we encourage with our development partners, whatever contribution government is going to provide is in kind, because they use our resources, human resources, they use our office spaces, they use, and then those, when you monetize them, you say this is our contribution. And also government usually grant duty waivers to the projects, and then if you monetize some of this, yeah, then
just following up on the counterpart contribution, as he has said, in the past, we used to contribute on average between 5 and 10% of the total project cost. But we've noticed that during the implementation of the projects, because of our limited budget constraints and the increasing number of projects, we couldn't live up to our obligations under that agreement. So now we have started shifting our policy towards more of in-kind counterpart contribution. So the way that is developed, they will look at the office space, the people who are working in that office, the administrative costs that is related to the project. That's what they monetize and say counterpart contribution, so that in actual monetary terms, we don't like disburse towards the actual investment of the project. But things like having project steering committees and meeting the expenses of those committees, those ones are normally financed by our government. So our contributions are normally very minimal, yeah, on average. Thank you. That's the issue on the counterpart. And you did raise the issue of consultancies. This part is very important and very encouraging as well. But the challenges we have in the country is that the work it takes to develop certain technical documents to a standard that is acceptable by the partner is where we have other challenges. The technical documents that are required to be developed by whoever the consultant is to a standard, the standard of the document must be acceptable to the development partner. Failure of that standard, they cannot accept it. So the challenge we have in the country is having that kind of technical expertise to develop those kind of standard documents. But the way we are going around it is that we are requiring in the technical specifications, in the expression of interest, we emphasize that even if someone from outside is coming, he must have a local counterpart, so that in the process, the individual or the firm or individual, whoever is partnering with the external firm, will build his capacity along those lines. And the use of the police and armed forces engineering units, we need to understand that our development partners also, in the financing agreements, remember they are, as far as the use of their funds are concerned and the procurements are concerned, this is open to all international companies. Let me give you an example. The World Bank, for instance, those who are financing the World Bank is coming from all over the world. They are all partners. So all of their member countries are eligible to compete in any project that will be funded by the World Bank, because those funds don't only belong to the receiving country or the beneficiary country, but it should be open to the participation of all member countries who are contributing also to the bank. They should be eligible to participate in those procurements. So that's why to say just we are going to limit it. This one can work very well for government-funded investment project. Yes, yeah, for government-funded, yes, for government-funded investment projects, it can work, you know. So it can be encouraged, definitely. So we'll be we'll be discussing the procurement bill coming, the new procurement bill. So that's an opportunity where You know, if these things are built into that, you know, it can help a lot. Yeah, so it can be promoted. Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Talk about how the challenges to you want is the drawing, number 2, the request for proposal, the bill of quantity. So these are technical documents that can be prepared by the in-house staff within that those institutions.
Yeah, if I
the bill of quantity, the request for proposal, request of interest, and those kind of technical documents. What other technical documents are you talking about?
if you look at our projects here, some of them are even externally funded projects. They are the contractors are Gambian farms. So it tells you that. But if you want to do environmental impact assessment, because that is missing here in the country. You don't get training in any academia here, not to my knowledge here, or people who have that experience are involved in doing those kinds of documents. So those kinds of developing those kinds of documents, normally external firms are engaged. And because of this an open competition, this is advertised globally. So, and they have the and they can submit their applications. So and they have been present in many other countries and have done this for many other countries. And if you look at the amount of the kind of services they have, so if they compete with our local partners, it becomes a problem. So that's why even at the University of the Gambia, the UTG Farba Bantang project, so if you open up international, and that is a requirement that it has to be, because it is within their own policies, it's just like their own laws, that it has to be done that way. So when they compete, because these people they have been present in many other countries, they have done projects in billions of USD, so the local partners become at a disadvantage if they compete with them. This is it problem. So the best thing of addressing it, what we do is we require them to have partners, local partners, and then we put a score, additional score, for those who are having local partners, so that they tend to gain advantage in when you are evaluated. So the one with the local partner will have additional scores compared to the one who want to compete and doesn't want a local partner. So we give that advantage to them. Yes.
Very understandable. Now, what maybe we are not understanding each other very well. Now, when the local percentage of consultancy is still at 2%, right? Indeed, it's still at 2% of the project cost. So that's just traditional consultancy fee. For most projects, 2% goes to consultancy.
I don't want to.
Is how do we reduce whatever percentage is attached to consultants? How do we reduce it so the government can save some money from on consultancies?
Has with the local partner. This is a relationship between the two of them. They reach an agreement. If we win the contract, this is how we are going to share it. So that's purely a private arrangement between them.
Thank you very much, sir. You have said here that, like, for instance, if we are to make a social depending on what program. For instance, if you are to build a landfill here, you do your EIA, testing the waters and the environment. We have those engineers readily made in the Gambia. If it is regarding to the water table, you can use NAWEC. And if it is regarding the environment, you can use geology, for example. So those can make you cut the cost. Thank you.
Involved in participating in this environmental impact assessments or the studies, they cannot participate in that because they have to approve that. So they cannot be like, yeah, they are a regulator. They will allow the process to flow and eventually it will come to their desk for approval. So
as my boss said, he's under the oath, and then his answers should be guided by data. But I think what we are calling for, honorable members, is important, and then it may need a lot of engagement within our own policies and also with our development partners. But to be honest with you, I think there's a capacity issue in the country that what we need to look at how we formulate a policy environment that is going to encourage capacity building within the system. You see, most of these consultancies, in terms of technical aspect, we don't have the required capacity here. For example, if you want to study, want to build Banjul Bala Bridge, the amount of tests and the study that may involve on the geology side, the environmental side, and the equipment that might be needed to do all those studies, they are not here. And also at the financing level is also informed by the envelope size. When it's a $25,000 UNC, it's going to be domesticated because the amount is small. But when it's up to like $500,000, then they will ask you to open it up. And if you open it up, you are inviting international best candidates to also to apply. That we have to follow the procurement rules, which is very strict. It is guided by principles. Then usually our own resources and our candidates in the country are affected. I think the strategy looks at there. Last time we had a meeting with the university, MOPSI ministry. They're trying to encourage at the university level those specialized training in terms of environment, and to see even at the grade 12 level to start training individual candidates who are scientifically accurate so that they can be given that opportunity to become specialists when it comes to service of environmental impact assessment, social studies, and all that. I think the efforts are there, but it may take a little bit of time to build those capacities around. But when you look at the contract nature, where bulk of the resources are gone, Gambia, unfortunately, we don't have the capacity, even closer to our neighbor. The heavy equipments that are involved, they are not there. I think what government should encourage, in our childhood days, we used to know about PWC, PWD, which was in Mansa Concord. Their heavy equipments are there at regional level. They'll use these equipments at least to do rural construction of the roads. And then I think our engagement with some of the development partners is time to speak to that angle, like Japanese. But see, they said, okay, even EU can be a good candidate for this because we use more into feeder roads before. We could have leveraged on that engagement to build at every regional level this heavy equipment that will be used by the local government offices to undertake some of the infrastructure development in their own area. But
can I come in here, please? I mean, during your intervention, all of you are mentioning about capacity all the time. Capacity. I think it's develop their capacity. And then it's not only stop at developing their capacity, because I mean during your negotiation period, that's where everything should come on board. Because when you are negotiating, you negotiate A, B, C, and D. Some are grant, some are loan, and this loan are to be paid by the local people. If they are to be paid by the local people, also you should also have a stake in it. When the contractors are coming, I mean there is a way that you always provide duty waivers with other A, B, C, and D as waivers to make things to facilitate things for them easily. Can you also propose to them also when they are going, those equipment, can they be left in the Gambia when they are going? Some of the equipment can be here to build those capacity of those local contractors and those consultants in the country, because it's possible. It can be part of negotiation, so that, I mean, they can also have it there. We have good in this country, but the only problem is the equipments are the ones that are lacking, and if people are here, they use our own local people to do those implementations. They hire our own people to do the consulting file for them. They are here to come and win the contract. Maybe give it to Abdullah Jallo as a contractor, subcontractor. Abdullah Jallo with his firm is doing A, B, C, and D. And maybe Sifsa is the main contractor, but Abdullah Jallo is doing the most of the job is done by Abdullah Jallo. But because of the capacity, per se, financially, he don't have it. That's why he can execute it out. But can you put it to them when they are coming A, B, I mean, can they help us with the capacity one and also equipment to build them here?
Thank you very much. I think to reinforce what Honorable Sar said, Honorable PS and delegates, even in America there is capacity problem. You go to UK, there is capacity problem. Capacity building is ongoing. Okay, let's have a target now. Let's put it like this: if you want to build for instance, we have state-owned construction enterprises. These construction enterprises are owned by the state. Do you understand? We start building their capacity. Before the end of these 5 years, there will be capacity now. So we cannot be saying capacity, and no effort to build capacity. As I said before, even in America, there is capacity problem. But you keep building capacities. This has to start from somewhere. As government need to save money by way of projects, and these are only things we can do to reduce the cost of consultancy and to establish state-owned enterprises with capacity, so that these projects can go to state-owned enterprises where government will pay them and good amount of the profit still comes back to the government. So let's start building capacities so that we can achieve these entire objectives. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much. Just taking cue from what Honorable Sar said also. Normally when we go for negotiations also, we try and encourage them, one, to use our country systems, and one also that the bidding is done locally. We have restricted bidding. So in the national one, those are the ones that is only limited to ambient farms. The other one, they say, to be quite honest, we don't have to go international. This one can be limited to your country. And that's how, you know, our companies here do get those kinds of resources. But they only open up international if they believe that it depends on the nature of the investment, like building a bridge, for example, you know, that has to go international. Because to be quite honest, we don't have that expertise here. We are having also at the port expansion project, for instance, the jetty extension, you know, those things you would have to open these things up. But there are ones that definitely you can limit to our national farms. So if you look at the different procurement methods, we negotiate for international bidding. What activities should fall under international bidding? What should be limited only to our national farms? So we do negotiate all that. It's because those who are the ones that they believe should be open up to international bidding, they fall under international. But not all what we negotiate it has to be subject to international. No, some are national. Some you can even do local shopping for that. Yeah, this is it. It's not only international, but you look at the different activities, and then you choose what should go international and what should be limited only to our national farms. And this environmental impact assessment, the World Bank is prepared to assist us so that we can build in this into our education system to ensure that they are ready to provide that kind of a funding within the our education curriculum, especially the University of Gambia, so that people have that kind of training. Then the mass capacity will be built within the country. Then you would not need all that kind of support on that. So that's what the World Bank is planning to do for us. So some of these specialized areas, they want to help us introduce those kinds of curriculum within the university. And from the university, you can build up a mass number of individuals who have that specialized that field. It's a work in progress anyway. Yes.
The national one also, that we rightly mentioned, with the national one. Part of it, that's a no-go area for the national ones, because they know that they are not qualified to be there. But when it comes to national also, even international partner come and tender within the national one. And then the competition also is very, very high for the national partners here. It's very, very difficult. So at least there must be, sorry to say, there must be, a program, or there must be a law that guide those national partners to know where their limits are. Because when it comes to international, it's a no-go area. But when it comes to the level that they should tender, they find different international contractors competing with them. So I don't know the likelihood for those national ones enjoying the cake of the distant part of the cake, they will not enjoy it. So let's try to look and formulate those laws that will definitely help the national contractors.
It's a good observation.
One honorable member, Honorable Cham, I think, want you guys to be very specific when you say project cost. USD, that's euro. The committee is not sure whether it's in euro or in dollars. So can we have the update on that later? Yeah, please. Thank you very much for your good observation. Yeah, you also mentioned about different type of tenders. For me, last week when I was reviewing the GPP Act, I'm very disturbed with the restricted tender. Because most of the project mess, if you compare and contrast this type of tenders, you realize that restricted tender sometimes yield to more problematic situations. I think this is something that we need to amend that in the GPP Act, this restricted tender. And this is sometimes where procurement officers will make a procurement process a performance to get to a particular contractor. When you make it restricted, because I'm at liberty to invite any contractors to come and submit when I have something in mind. So I think I was reviewing the act last week, and I'm very comfortable with that restricted tender. I think it's something the committee we call agriculture. That's not the committee. That's not this committee. Agriculture committee we call GPP. I think sometime after Tobaski we will see how do we amend this restricted tender, because this restricted tender was the problem for this fertilizer issue. So I'm sure Minister of Finance is also a stakeholder in this GPP Act. We will also see how do you amend this act to make sure the restricted tender, even it happened, but not on certain amount of money. Thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable, you are very right. For very good reasons. That is to shorten the procurement process, but you should do a restricted tender only to candidates that really qualify, but not to like pick and choose. Then you abuse it. Yes, yeah, exactly. So, So there are laws intended for good reasons, but people also sometimes have a way of going around it. You are right on that. So laws are designed for very good intentions, but in practice also, it's just like the avoidance of taxation. You can design a very good tax, but people can avoid it legally you know. So all those things happen. Answering Mr. Honorable South's concern, it's a valid concern. Some international farms can register local farms and empower them. So if they are registered as under the Companies Act of the Gambia, they are registered as local farms, then you cannot treat them like, you know, they are local farms like any other local. This is just, we are just discussing the same thing. You can have a good law, but you know, some of these people, they are so smart. They know how to go around the system. So they can just register a local farm in the country and they compete, you know, because they are treated as national or local farms. So it's not easy. You have good laws, but you know, some of these institutions are also very smart. They can operate within the legal framework legally, and then they and then it's just difficult to kick them out because they are registered as, they have a subsidiary company in the Gambia, so it's a registered limited liability company registered on the Companies Act in the Gambia. So they are national companies. So, but it's just difficult because you are dealing with also very smart people, very smart farms. Yeah. Well, if they are registered as a Gambian company, Gambians are employed in that company. The managing director is Gambian. All others are Gambian. You only have few of them who are international experts within that company. They are all registered in the Gambia, paying taxes. It's a Gambian company. It's just difficult to kick it out. To monitor, yeah, they are all. There has to be a regulator for all kinds of all kinds of disciplines. Like if you are operating in the petroleum sector, you are regulated by PURA. In the telecom sector, the enforcement.
You might know, of course, know some of the laws.
Yes.
These are the laws that no.
Yeah, but if they are a Gambian company and they compete, you can't do anything about it. You're a Gambian company. It's just like people are saying.
I mean, there's a problem here. I mean, and then you as the in this country, because the issue here is, I mean, at the end of the day, we end up seeing Gambia to be developed with non-Gambians or with non-Gambians farms per se, because I mean there are conditions attached to any tender documents and their evaluation process to evaluate and come through final results. I mean we know Gambian farms who are fully Gambians, who are from A to Z staff to local staff as Gambians. We know farms that are not Gambian, they only have few Gambians within them to come and compete with Gambian farms. And then, I mean, so to say, I'm not against foreign farms in this country, but Gambia is our own country. Gambia is our Gambia. If you come to the banks, it's a problem because you see a bank supporting a foreign investor to compete with a Gambian farm within this one level of this thing of contract. You go at the end of the day, they say it's no to you and give it to the farm. And you can do it better than him per se. Honest to God and Nabi, you can do it better than him. Because we have qualified and well-trained government in this country. But the support is lacking somewhere. But that one, I will not tell you today. I told to my fellow government MPs to say we come up with a law that can help those people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sir. I think, Mr. Gumbo, I just appeal to honorable members. You remember when we are evaluating the OIC projects, we have this problem there. A particular company, just for the purpose of this law, went to and changed everything, incorporate the company's shareholding structure was all Gambian. So when we realized that we went to the registry on due diligence, we discovered that they have met all the criteria to be Gambian. So subsequently, we can't do anything about it. So I'm happy to honorable members. Now is the law now that we need to change. You have the powers to change that law so that, you know, local Gambian owners, Gambian citizens can benefit from this construction company, this construction project. Because Gumbo will witness that was a very tough. It went the whole week. We were not sure what to do until we went to the AG campus and realized that the company, for the purpose of that project, changed everything to be Gambian. So that was a really very tough time for us.
How can we get the project for the process? Speaking of transfer, there are already established lists departments with all the resources. For example, here on this list, agriculture value chain development, we have to have a project of like how to push rice farming and rice production in the Gambia. You need outside experts to come. These are the kind of things we are. It is like assembly, newspapers have been seeing. Ministry of Agriculture have been here. They get all the experts. What they do when a project comes, they will take consult. Give the experts there. Why not try and use those experts? Save money.
Before you go on, my mind. The clerks told me we're drifting a little bit. Now you guys can do your presentation on this. Then honorable member. Yeah, I think that's in order.
I think, thank you, honorable members. I think we have exhausted the list that we are able to pull from our system. Or dollars, we are going to make that correction. But wherever you see euro, meaning where all EU funded projects are euro because it's from EU, and all other projects are from our other development partners, which is usually mostly dollar denominated cost.
Like if you also go there, it's multi-sector. In my opinion, this means different ministries or institutions are implementing this project.
Under the EU.
If you go to national sector classification, other places you have multi-sector. Other places you saw, you told us agriculture, education, transport. We know that's Ministry of Transport, Ministry of Agriculture. But when you say multi-sector, what do you mean by this? Different sectors are implementing that project, or the project is fused into different sectors?
Yeah.
Maybe
That's what it means.
yeah. But it's okay.
What it means, colleagues from the back advising us. You can see this project for Action Aid, but Action Aid is an entity responsible for implementation, but it's working with other government departments and institutions. In this particular one, they said it involved immigration. It involved IOM and other entities, and that is why it is called multi-sector. The implementation is done through different institutions or departments within the country. But usually when you say agriculture project, meaning this project is implemented directly through agriculture. But where it involves different institutions or ministries or agencies, we refer it as a multi-sector, cross-cutting issues. Yeah. Yes, Honorable.
So that doubts me. I don't, yeah, those missing gaps. And there are
coming to number three. Number three, on the list of projects, and they are. Have you seen it? The start date is 2015, and then the end date is 2022, and then up till now there's no disbursement per se. What's the problem? Because it's like it's almost at the end point, and then nothing is being disbursed. Is the money going back or what? Okay. There's no disbursement per se, or is it missed? I will provide it. Okay. Number 5 also. Number 5. The start is 2015, and then the end date also is this year. 45% is already been disbursed, and then we are almost in July. We only disbursed 45%.
That's the building resilience, right?
Yeah, building resilience.
Yeah, we only disbursed 45%, and then it's almost at the end of the year.
You want to? I can. Okay. You want to handle? Okay. The building resilience. Let me say good morning to honorable members for the first intervention. I think my colleague director mentioned this building resilience.
Did they transfer the oath to you or what?
Let me speak.
No, allow him to take the oath and answer. Just say, yes, you can take the oath and help you. Sorry,
my sincere. I will speak the truth. The whole Thank you. Let me. He's also taking one.
Do hereby affirm that
I will speak the truth.
I will speak the truth, the whole truth,
nothing but the truth.
nothing but the truth.
So help me.
So help me God.
Mr. Kuba, you can come now.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much, and thanks for your understanding and your patience. The building resilience, and these are some of the problematic projects normally that we encounter, and I think my colleagues mentioned these things earlier on. So if you look at building resilience, a project that was actually, signed in 2015, and then, is still disbursing up to 2022. The reason being that this is a project that right from the, from the signing of the project, implementation was going, smoothly up to a point and this was in the old regime, that, you know, you remember the vision, the so-called Vision 2016. So when the Vision 2016 came in, this was one of the projects that was actually targeted for a whole restructuring to use the resources to buy heavy equipment for agriculture at the time. And as a result, there was a lot of wrangling back and forth between the country and then the bank, that Islamic Development Bank, in terms of changing the whole structure. And that, you know, turned out to be a lot of issue until at some point in time, the Honorable Minister who was there at the time, Bukoli, had to intervene to say, well, we've gone to a point where now to restructure this project entirely and go back to the drawing board would not be possible. So, you know, there was these issues, and then eventually the bank, for a very long time, you know, did not know what is the way forward, because at the end of the day, even though these resources are provided, but it's at the dictate of the country now, especially when it is a loan, that the country can decide and say, I want to use these resources for ABC. And when that happens, if the whole structure changes, you know, it does affect the entire operation as far as the implementation is concerned. So that is why, and then later on, when things more normalized and the issue of restructuring the entire project was out of the table, we came back again to restart the implementation process again. And there were also some challenges in between from the bank level and then at the country level. And that is what actually dragged for a very long time. At some point in time, this is one of the projects that had really caused a headroom issue for us as a country, and it was actually in line for crashing. At some point in time, the project was going to be crashed, to meaning like close the project and redesign a new project. But, you know, after you know, a country portfolio review and a discussion at the highest level, things were put back on course again for the implementation to start. And as early as last week, actually was talking to the bank official on this one to say this is one of the projects that we still have a concern. And I think the idea here now is that this is going to be probably the last extension that they are actually offering. And if it is not, whatever, you know, situation we are in at that point in time, we'll have to take a decision, because the longer it goes, the more also it affects our portfolio, because you cannot access any new money when the projects are delayed to that.
So it means that the agreement is changed now to your taste now as of before, to buy farming equipment on
so
that.
It's changed now from buying farming equipment for the Vision 2016 that was designed at the time, yes, to the original structure of the project.
To the original structure.
To the original structure of the project.
Yeah, and then it's doing well with you now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay. Honorable Member for Sam, when PS intervened then?
Yeah, you know, when projects are designed, they have a specific development objective. And that's why, and that's how the projects are structured. So if you go midway, you want to say, no, I want this and that and this and that, which is completely outside of the scope of that project, it means you are bringing up a completely different thing, because you develop the project to achieve a certain objective, and those activities are linked to that objective. So if you want to come and change, so it was a complete U-turn, which means that the bank said, no, look, are you talking about another project? Because if you want to include all those activities, then we'll have to change the project. And to change the project will require a very long process. So some of these interventions can protract or delay project implementation. So that was just an add-on to what this guy was saying. So it was yeah.
Okay, before Honorable Member for Sami comes, now, PS, can you tell this committee now or after how much money, the amount of money Gambia government owe to our development partners? Loans, please, either here or after. That's number one. Number two, is there, do you guys have plan to consolidate all the isolated incidents that other international organizations are doing to our institutions as far as projects are concerned, like the EU, the UNDP, those isolated incidents of funding to government institutions? Do you have any plan to consolidate them? You said here there are some institutions that you guys don't capture because those are isolated incidents of funding. Do you guys have plan to consolidate them, to have those ones also in record?
Yes, we have started that process. Even those ones managed by NGOs, we have the
those
managed by NGOs because we want to have a complete picture of project interventions in the country handled by development partners, non-governmental organizations, and government, so that we have a complete view of the nature of interventions we have in the country. We have started that process.
I'm sure before our next interaction, that data will be established. Oh,
we will try and give you to the extent possible what we have. But
one
other way,
enough.
Yes, but one other way of getting it is also if you engage all these actors when they appear before you, ask them, do you have any other project that is not here?
Okay.
Yeah, then that one they will share with you.
For that lead.
Then they will open up, yeah.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor again. Looking at number 10, education, basic education, looking at the constraints in the basic sectors, education. Why? And if you go to page 57 also is education. Those loans are not utilized. Why?
We will update this missing information, these missing gaps. Yeah, we will update them. Yeah, we will come up a new one that some of the our comments you are raising, we will document them and update the document.
Correct. Yeah.
Also, we can invite you. We do our own. I know you will have your own select committee.
I mean, Honorable, it's a good question that you ask.
Yes.
He's saying that it's ongoing. But I think also he also missed the area because I was just there last week. Exactly. But it seems the place seems to be at a halt. It's not moving.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, because they gave some constraint based with the last intervention with the Ministry of Works. They were here. I put those questions to them. They say that they had a problem with basal chip per se, but the project is not ongoing. It's at a halt.
Unfortunately, we have the contractors also differ in terms of their speed of implementation.
Yeah, they currently not working because they give an excuse of the basal chip. That's the small basal they need to use for the last layer. But currently it's not they are not moving.
Okay.
Ongoing, yeah. It's still ongoing because they've not reached out to say we are terminating the contract.
No, they want to see movement. As politicians, they want to see movement.
Yeah, actually, for the Hakalang one, we are receiving interim payment certificates and we are paying. It depends on the speed of the contractor. Some of them, they have this financial muscle. They don't even wait for government. Once these contracts are signed off, they just take off. And then along the line, we also pay. So that's where they differ. Yeah, that's why when you are evaluating, it's good you look at their financial capacity, because some of them, once you sign off on the contract, they just kick off. They just start immediately.
But all of a sudden, we saw a different contract. That
those ones, maybe the NRA and the Ministry of Works, they can explain more in more detail what is going on. At our level, we might not.
It's more than 1 year. Yes, I bought one. It was a catastrophic on this side. Yes, I remember. As you said, that those missing information. Number two, we have seen 85 replacement of asbestos water pipe in the Greater Banjul area. Almost 3% is we are still another one is like road project in the Greater Banjul area. The project cost is not there. Which number is it? That's number 89. 89. Last page. Where is this? This is the policy. 39. 9. Those projects. Yeah, that's someone required. You assume. No, they allow you. They allow you. Yeah, they give it. The data card. Just $15 million. But let me do that confirmed by itself. So we want all this document now. Get the approach of us. I don't know whether it's going to receive Monday. So let's say latest Wednesday. Put it on the calendar. Let's see. Another explanation, on the sectors social, what do you guys consider social? Which number is that? Which number? One. One on the national sector grant. Which is social? It is not oh, in fact, that's what I wanted to say. The social project, they don't contact this committee after. This committee will infrastructure. Yeah, it's a project from it. Okay, you are looking at infrastructure. This project. Okay, I'm just being reminded that this is our mandate. Just being reminded.
System, which is infrastructure in nature, but it's a software that they are going to provide to capture. Sure. Okay, that's all. Yes.
Can I come in, please? Can I come in, please?
So another question, like, if you say in-kind, if you say in-kind contribution, because I know it as counterpart. Now, this purchasing of project vehicles is still embedded in the project cost, or the government of the Gambia will take the responsibility as in-kind contribution?
Well, fueling the vehicles is part of in-kind contribution, because it's part of what you do to make sure that, you know, the activities of the project or your own effort is going towards achieving the development objective of the project. So fueling the projects and doing project-related activity, but some of the funding of fuel funding can also come from the donor funds. Yes, it's a combination of.
Thank you.
But the buying of vehicles mainly come from the donor funds, mainly. Yeah.
Then my follow-up question will be: I think it's high time also the government of the Gambia, through the Ministry of Finance, to look into pockets of project vehicles. Do you understand? I think it's costing taxpayers a lot of money, year in and out, project in, project out. It's like no project manager want to use a vehicle for project A and use the same vehicle for project B. And I think we need to start implementing this now. As far as the vehicle is usable, the vehicle is roadworthy, why can't you use the same vehicle for another project? But it's like we want to factor in cost in every project to have its own project vehicles, and this is costing the government of the Gambia a lot of money. I think it's something also that we need to, the Minister of Finance should look into
place. The started direction, I think, is in place with what we are requesting, because the current practice is most of the projects, they come as a standalone PIU, project implementation unit. And then meaning the staffing and the office space are located in different areas. But the new aid policy that we are coming to have is indicating that every sector will have a centralized project coordination unit, where the technical staff of every project, project B and project A, will be sitting in one space, meaning they can use the same pool of resources. Then even if this project closes, a new project is coming and the vehicles are roadworthy as you are requesting, meaning those vehicles will be used until they can have another replacement. That's the direction. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think that you'll be sending us this thing for ratification. And the other thing also with regards to the 100% government funded projects that you people are implementing at the moment. I mean, I think it comes to your area as finance ministry. When sending us this, can you also send us those list of those projects and also their status with the level of disbursement currently, because we want to know. It's important for us to go take it from there and know where we are, because when they came here they were explaining, and then the percentage of the project was very small, and then the amount disbursed was more than the percentage of work. So can you please please when you are sending us the children of this government's place?
Okay, my boss is indicating maybe on the amount of disbursement made, maybe we can pull that from our end, but also you can get more detail from the project manager.
No, it's not about the amount. I want to know the amount, just the amount.
The amount.
Yeah.
That is coming from the GLF.
Yeah, from your area. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
we'll do that. Okay, with regards to some of the requests you've made, is it honorable members here? It's a reporting requirement. If you look at the financing agreement of most of these projects, it's a reporting requirement, and also even at our part, it's a policy requirement to report to you on some. But when you look at the civil society organization, I mean the NGOs, those charitable philanthropist projects that are coming to the country without coming through the central, even without coming to the sector, then it will be kind of very difficult to report to you as Monday. The reason being, even the Tango or NGO affairs who are managing these civil society or charitable organizations are also very much challenged. Usually they don't even know the location of some of these projects, but the efforts are there, as my boss indicated. We do a mapping. We went with NGO affairs across the country based on the project that are registered with them. We were able to reach out to most of them to indicate to us the amount of resources they receive, who are the donors to them, and where they are implementing. But having said that, there are still a lot of projects that are outside. Don't even know. Usually this happens because somebody comes as a charity, register with AG chambers, and they go and implement their program. Usually they are very short term in nature, and then they call them as charitable organizations. Why they are challenged, because they don't have the register of some of these projects across the board. But whatever we have from their end and the updates, already we did some exercise with them. We have those information. We'll add it to this one.
Yeah, I mean, a question also is here, that's the OIC project. Guys, in the why that some they have received their advance payment and up till now they haven't started work. Some contractors have received their advance payment and still there's no work in progress.
Okay.
I know whether it should be answered by you or should be answered by OIC.
Maybe OIC.
They already discussed the contractor. Up till now, there's no work done. No startup date has been.
Those specific project-related questions, the ministry responsible for implementing it, they are in a better position to give precise answers about it. Because at our end, the ministry, we cannot go that level. Sometimes we have a general understanding about it, but those specific details, only the ministry or the project managers can give you more precise answers.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yes. I think when it comes to the issue of the NGOs, I think what you need to do here is to work very closely with the Ministry of Justice. It is Justice that is registering these charitable organizations to operate officially in the country. NGO Affairs knows all the NGOs that are operating in the country because they give them NGO status. Tango membership is optional. Not all NGOs operating in the country are members of Tango. But NGO Affairs can give you the list of all the NGOs that are registered and are operating in the Gambia. Tango also know the list of all their members and operating in the Gambia. And they know the thematic areas that they are operating, and they have all their programs and projects that they do. But our problem mainly in the country is the number of charitable organizations that are registered by the Ministry of Justice. That is coming up with all these programs. And most of them will come in with 5-10 containers, and at the end of the day, you don't even know where they go to. Because there is no monitoring, they don't follow what they are doing. Most of them do not sign any MOU with any line ministry, department, or agency. For all the NGOs, they need to be operational, you have to sign an MOU with an existing organization, agency that you are working with. If you are in health, before you do any program, you have to, as per the NGO degree that regulates the disbursement of equipment and furniture, you have to sign an MOU with a line ministry. But these charitable organizations that are registered, hundreds of them are registered on a monthly basis, and they don't track them. They don't even know what they are doing. So I think that's where we need to work with the Ministry of Justice to ensure that they are able to track these organizations for us. But if not, the work that they are going to be doing and the funds that are coming are not going to reach the intended targets within the country. That has been a big problem. Yeah.
From our doyen in this committee.
No, he is very experienced in NGO-related matters. So we'll take his advice. So what we'll do, we will go and get the information, share it with you if possible, and maybe if you have time also, we'll also share the same information with NGO Affairs for reconciliation purpose. But for us, the areas we are looking at is the level of interventions that they are doing, and their disbursements. There are areas of intervention and their disbursements. But we'll also work with NGO affairs and Tango to get many information as possible and to do some reconciliations to the extent possible. Thank you, Honorable.
Yeah, thank you, Piers. I think this is my last question. And then let's go to number 21. 21 of the distinct page, which have a status of 2013, and then the end date is 2021. Only 53% is being disbursed. So is that an ongoing thing or what? Because the end date is 2021. Number 21. Number 21. Yeah, 21.
Yeah, this is the GGC project. What we did, it has been protracting for a very long period, and it came to a period where we have decided that we need to just end it, and the remaining outstanding activities of the project, we see whether it is possible to repackage it as a new loan. There were implementation issues. Especially if I don't forget the procurement and deployment of the cogeneration plant, because when it was tendered at that time, there was a joint venture. Two partners came together and participated in the tender. I think none of them is local, but they have problems amongst themselves.
The partners.
Maybe if you call the GGC and Ministry of Agriculture, they will shed more light into they will give you more details about this one. It has been protracting for a very long period.
So, but the project is still ongoing.
The project so what we have done now, we have decided to close the project, and the remaining activities of the project will be repackaged into a new project and launched differently. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the funds are okay. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. Sorry. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. I just want because I said this before. The intention of this committee, the objective of this committee, is to reduce costs as far as government intervention in projects is concerned. Now, we will also want you to give us data of government project vehicle maintenance. This is by way of fuel also, coupons, and the maintenance costs for government project vehicles yearly. If you guys can have that data, it will be very grateful. Oh, that will be difficult to get. Yeah, project vehicle maintenance. The cost. This will also include fuel. In fact, I think it's high time you guys start cutting costs for coupons allocated to projects week in and out. It's going to be like 2,500 Monday, 1,500 for Friday. For Friday, this is too much. So I wonder, so weekends, what do you do with what do you do with coupon as far as government project vehicles are concerned? It's reasonable to give 2,500 Monday because you come to work to and fro. Friday also you are close, you are giving coupon for a weekend errand. I think these are some of the places we can interfere to make sure the cost is brought down. And also the project with duty waivers and the amount. All the projects that have duty waivers and the amount, if you combine them together, we will also want to see that as well. You are not under pressure. You are not under pressure, actually.
Yes, we have data for the duty waivers.
Okay.
We have it. But in terms of your understanding of it, for all projects, we can give you what has been approved per year. Okay. On a yearly basis for all projects.
Okay.
It's not only duty, it's all kinds of taxes that are all kinds of taxes that are financed from donor proceeds. You don't tax them. That is a default, you know. So So and for compliance purpose, we can give you all, each project by project, how much has been approved for them on duty waivers. So if you look at financing agreements, donors don't require or governments to tax their proceeds. For instance, if you go for a if you are looking for a loan, you'll give the donor, this is the total cost involved in constructing a road. For instance, Batil Hadin Highway will cost us, let's say, 75 million US dollar. This is the construction cost. But the value, that value of construction cost does not include taxes. So when you negotiate, we negotiate outside of the taxes. So that's why. So what we present in the National Assembly, the financing agreements, all those activities are tax exempt. So because the value of the construction without taxes is what is presented at the National Assembly. I'm not sure whether you understand what I'm saying. This is the total cost of the project with tax. This is the amount without tax. So what we bring to the assembly is the total cost of the project without tax. Yes. So when we are implementing, because you buy goods from this and you buy fuel, so those kinds of procurements, they bring it to our attention and we give them tax exemptions, because the input cost of the project should not contain tax elements.
This other question is very similar to what he hear. I don't know whether the person asking this question is satisfied with what the permanent secretary said. Can you update the committee the list of the projects that had somehow access duty waivers, and what are the amounts or figures involved? I think he said they will supply us with that question, with this question latest next week. Any honorable member? Somebody was okay.
Similar question. Individual citizens, for example, on tractors that are coming to the country, farming implements, farming materials, for example, tractor.
If it is for commercial, no.
No, I mean for farming.
Yeah, we apply but a limited percentage. Yeah, they are not 100% waived, but we apply about a small percentage.
Now, how much do you charge on tractor? One tractor?
It's a percentage. It's 5%. Yeah,
5%.
It's not waived. It's 5%. Unless that tractor is proven to be, how to call it, is a, you know, the minister also on the remissions, if he believes that this is in the interest of the public, he can. Yes.
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking this question, as I had an experience on it. I brought in tractor for the people of Badibu, Lower Badibu. I'm still with them. But I applied for the jubilee waiver. I could not have access to it. At the end of the day, I have to pay cash on it and get my vehicle out. So for me, at that time, I said it's like an animal farm. That's how you know I saw it at them. Then I found him there. No, but if you are talking of jury waiver, I think you should at least apply it on each and every time. Then who happen to bring tractor here for the purpose of for farming? That's what I'm saying.
The problem is,
in fact, I became frustrated because they were asking me to go and meet this one, go and meet this one. I said, oh, at the end of the day, let me just pay and get my vehicle out.
Yeah, you know, that's why now for tractors, regardless of what is, we brought the rate to 5% just to lower the cost, because it's difficult to say this is granted in the interest of the public. You know, the kind of supporting documents you would want. So that's why we say it's really, really difficult, because anybody can come and say we are doing this in the interest of the public.
That's true.
Where's the proof? So administering it becomes so difficult. We say, look, bring the rate down, 5% and apply it across.
You are right, because like Sarahules, 3/4 of them, of course, are bringing in these tractors for commercial purpose. Yeah, that one I know it. Yeah, Sarahules.
Thank you very much. Now, just this one question. I'm sure probably the institution should supposed to submit this report to us. Whether Minister of Finance also, you have a specific periodic report that you can submit to this committee on projects. Report on projects. Yeah, please.
Yeah, we'll give you the reports that we have.
To make the question clearer, you have submitted the prepared periodic reports. We want to get this report. The committee want to lay hand on these reports. And also you can submit your soft copies to this email. I'm going to supply it with Gumbo probably if you cannot read it from here. Committees at assembly.gm. Committees at assembly.gm. That's the email to submit your report. Committees at assembly.gm. COMITTEES at assembly.gm. So to give you the list of action points, first the committee members were not, even though the minister came and apologized, but the committee members were not happy with his absence, so therefore the next interaction the minister should try to come. So we will also want the government in-kind contribution to all projects to be submitted latest Wednesday. Also government to consider, we are going to do a stakeholder engagement on this matter, giving our local funded projects to the armed forces and the police so that the cost of these projects can come down so government can save money. We are also going to see how do we review the restricted tender in the GPP Act, but that's solely the responsibility of this committee. We will see how do we review the restricted tender in the GPP Act, because we have seen that it is quite a lot of malpractices occur in our procurement process because of the restricted tender. So we will also see, the committee will also expect government project vehicles maintenance. We also want to see that data. This is by way of fuel coupon given to project units of the government, and also project with duty waivers and the amount. We will also want to see all these documents submitted to the email given to you people. So any other business AOB, because now we sat for a very long time. The clerk just reminded me, next time the minister should write. Instead of coming here to make a verbal communication, he or she is supposed to write to the committee. So any other business, so that we...
Did we say after the prayers?
Yes, after the prayers, Wednesday.
Wednesday, that is next week on Wednesday. Is that from?
On the 13th. So before Friday.
That is before Friday next week. It is from, yes.
I know there are some flaws within the ministry, and the president, maybe he might be a bit tired to come over on Monday, Tuesday. I mean, if the chairman can extend it a bit so that they can also enjoy themselves, because they have some flaws in their midst. So can you extend it till?
Some of us are traveling back.
Jumbo. I said it before, you are not under pressure. When can you submit this? End of month. No, jump for that. Oh, that's
Sorry, Chairman. Chairman. Chairman.
Yes?
Yeah, I think end of month will not be feasible because we are going on recess. The whole of August, no MP will be here. No. We are all going to be on recess from the 1st to the 31st. Our work here on the committee work will end on the 29th of this month. July. By the 1st of July, August to the 31st will be there. September is third ordinary session, and that's where the budget will also be laid. So that's why we want to finish all these things, work around them before the end of July.
No, I would suggest we file
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, can we settle it for the 19th?
Yeah, that's a Tuesday. Yeah.
Yes.
That's okay. Yeah.
For the 19th, okay.
Yeah? Is that okay for you?
Hence, this is AOB.
Yeah.
We engage the GGC and Ministry of Agriculture on the reduction of fertilizer. They say it's responsibility of you people. We want the cost of fertilizer to be reduced from 2,000 to any reasonable amount. The cost of fertilizer. The GGC said and Agriculture say you are the responsible organization, ministry rather. So we want the cost of fertilizer to come down, please.
Actually, we don't determine the cost of the fertilizer, although we work with the ministry to come up with how to price fertilizer. Remember, these are normally loans that we take from our local banks, buy fertilizer, and then sell this fertilizer at subsidized high prices. So these are loans that we take, and government just steps in to pay this amount of the subsidy. If you could recall, for the 2022 budget, we just paid in January, if I don't forget, either January or February, around $524 million on fertilizers subsidy. So is this sustainable is what we need to look at. We were then, the price was around 700 or 750. Yes. So we had to pay $524 million on fertilizer subsidy. We are getting so many pressures on our subsidies. The fuel is also one of it. From January to date, end of June, what we have subsidized in fuel is close to $1 billion. It's 900 plus. So all these billions and millions, these are social interventions that the government is doing, because we felt that we are not a purely capitalist country where we'll just pass this cost to the poor and vulnerable. So, but to be more precise on the price subsidy, we just determine that, you know, if this is the full cost of this subsidy, and then we leave it with the executive to decide what the price is going to be. So we just determine, and if we should subsidize by 10%, 20%, these are going to be, if we are to sell it below the market value, at 10% below the market value, 20%, 25%, this is going to be the level of this subsidy. And if we give some informed information, we provide them with information that will inform their decision making.
Okay. The amount of money that you paid on the on fertilizer last year, was it last year? Yes. This year. Last year consignment.
Yeah.
Okay. Then it's all right.
Last year what we paid
about 201 million of 205 million there.
Okay, I thought that amount was paid on this percent consignment. If that is the case, that means the price of fertilizer should remain at $700.
No, remember that the price of fertilizer today, fertilizer is even hard to get.
Yeah, you don't understand. I said, I thought the amount that you paid last year was paid for this percent consignment. I said, if that is the case, the price, the price of fertilizer should remain on cheap.
Yeah. So the last year's one was around, the full pass through would have been around 1,800 up to 2,000. That was sold for 700. So we subsidized nearly 1,300 thereabout per 50 kilogram bag of.
Okay, thank you very much.
1 second. Yeah, you see, Honorable Permanent Secretaries, all these things are confusion. To me, the confusion has been generated by the politicians. Because it was said in the entire length and breadth of the country that the fertilizer is going to be accessible to the farmers. So obviously, if now they are telling us that the price of fertilizer, one bag is $2,000, what message are you sending them? And you are the very people who told these people that the price of the fertilizer is going to be accessible to them.
Thank you very much, honorable members, for your very good questions. And we also thank the Ministry of Finance for coming. For coming. We are so grateful, and we hope this relationship will continue on mutual understanding. Yes, you and your delegates, we tell you thank you very, very much. Then we will interact later, and we also hope to see this document submitted on the 19th of July 2022. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Members, you can stay for 5 minutes, please.
My flour and my dabakuna. Thank you so much. Zawad, you don't find out